Next, with the report from the American Legion Post 11, Richard Dick Huffine.
I'd like to ask you all to uncover honor of veterans passed away. Hank LeMay, Samuel Barney, Joseph Forker, Ronald Reinschild, Larry Geisinger, William Miller, Donald Smith, Robert Wills, Ned Mathias, Donald Dill, Joseph L. Niddle, Joseph Houston, James Fishecki, Herbert Wedge, William Martin, Robert Maciosi, Joe Erler, Robert Dahlmeyer, Robert Byler, Clyde Kennedy, James Martins, John Mugg, Glenn Waits, Robert Kroc, Carol Goldberry, William Arnett, Ralph Ditto, Francis Bach, Fred Hatcher, Kenneth McCall, Herbert Hansley, Robert Cunningham, Leslie Reynolds, Robert Ohl, and Terry Minnick. May their souls rest in peace.
Next is Kenneth Gregg, who will represent DAV Chapter 40 and the Military Order of the Cootie.
It's my sad duty to report Homer L. Fosnall, David L. Holland, William E. Miller, Calvin D. Moorhead, William D. Roberts, Harold E. Wolf, DAV, passed away, and also Wayne Beatty from the Military Order of the Cootie. Thank you.
Next is AMVETS Post 1985 and Kathy Argyle.
It's my sad duty to announce that the following members passed away since last Memorial Day: William Bill Arnett, Wayne Beatty, John Balthaser, William Bill Chisholm, Charles Cleland, David Dandria, Robert Dobmeyer, Robert Mike Inman, Thomas Evans, Cecil Terry Floyd, Herbert Hansley, John Hicks, Joe Houston, Henry Hank LeMay, Robert Maciosi, William Bill Miller, Terry Minnick, Richard T. Morris, Roger Powers, and Harold Bowles. May their souls rest in peace.
Next is the Retired Armed Forces Association and Mary Austin.
It is my sad news to report that we had one loss. Mr. Homer Rentz, who is a personally good friend of mine, and we sadly miss him. May his soul rest in peace.
We have a report from the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association. This is the 70th year anniversary of that attack, and up until 9/11, that was the largest loss of life in our history. 2,500 killed, 1,200 wounded. With a report on the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association is Dean Scholl.
Thank you, Paul. It is an honor to be here today to represent the Pearl Harbor survivors. But needless to say that I would rather not have to be here today, because you'll find out in a few seconds. The Pearl Harbor survivors, on December the 15th, 2010, the last known Pearl Harbor survivor from Fairfield County passed quietly from this earth. My brother Raymond, he had fulfilled his duties that why God placed him on this earth, to defend our country and our freedom. He, like the rest of them, now their voices are silent. Who will speak for him? Who will carry out the duties and what they had started for? Who will write the history? And it will be a long history. It will be up to their families, his family, and all the other Pearl Harbor survivors from this county to pass on to their children, their grandchildren, what the history of Pearl Harbor means and what they went through on that fateful day. As I said, who can tell their stories? Who among us is man or woman enough to have walked in their footsteps? You got to remember they were pretty much the start, and everything was pretty much Greek from the very start. And they give a start to the rest of the people in the service of what they needed to do to carry on the duties that they would put the uniform on. President Coolidge once said, "A nation which forgets its defenders will one day itself be forgotten." And as I look out at this crowd composed of the band and all the veterans and wives and children, I am not worried that Lancaster, Ohio will ever forget its veterans and its defenders. And on behalf of those that have went before, I say, God rest your souls. Thank you.
And now the newest organization in our military family, newly composed Vietnam Veterans of America, number 1045, and Artis Howe will give a report.
I am happy to say that as a newly formed veterans organization, the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 1045, we have not lost any of our members since our beginning last October. We do, however, remember and honor all our brothers and sisters from the other organizations in our other chapters. May they all be remembered and not forgotten.
Thank you. God bless all the names that we heard today. Our program will continue with Shannon Fish, who, in talking with her prior to this, if you can imagine, she first did the Gettysburg Address here at age 9. That's been a couple of years ago. So please welcome Shannon Fish.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place to those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But, in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is rather for us the living to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is for us the living rather to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, and that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people and for the people, shall not perish from the earth. President Abraham Lincoln, November 19, 1863.
Now, if you are able, please stand. Led by Bart Pickenpaw, the Lancaster High School Band of Gold will present the Star-Spangled Banner. That will be followed by our fine combined veteran squad with our salute to the comrades, and finally taps by the buglers of the Lancaster High School Band. This concludes this segment of the ceremony here at Forest Rose. There will be a wreath-laying ceremony downtown at Veterans Park immediately following their ceremony. So if you'd like to get down to that following this, that will occur. But again, this will end our observance here. Thank you all for coming. God bless you, and God bless the United States. Thank you.
Only one. I was trying to take my fingers and get it in. I was trying to do it.
You like that idea? Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna reverse it now.